Hi, my name is Caden, and today I'm going to be talking about an IQ study that was retracted and fallout from decades-old misconduct report. In 1978, the researcher Stephen Buring did a research on how incentives can influence IQ test scores. In 2011, a very similar experiment was done by a group of researchers at the University of Pennsylvania. This case involves that research group from 2011 and the study on how motivation influences IQ test scores. The main problem of the 2011 study was one of the studies it relied on, published in 1978 by Stephen Buring, was later found to include fabricated data. Even though the 2011 authors didn't commit the fraud themselves, their findings were impacted. This case shows how one falsified study can ripple through the research world and damage trust in sciences and have institutional consequences. For the research misconduct background, the overall objective of the 2011 research group was intelligence testing, specifically how motivation affects IQ test performance. The researchers conducted a meta-analysis to assess the effects of external incentives like reward money or prizes or even concert tickets on IQ test scores. Their research also included a longitudinal study to explore how individuals and their change in motivations change during testing related to the influence and the incentives that were proposed. The researcher that ran the experiment, or the lead of the experiment in the 2011 test group, was Angela Lee Duckworth. She was a professor of psychology at the University of Pennsylvania. The study, published in 2011 by Angela Lee Duckworth and her colleagues, looked at whether offering rewards like money or event tickets can boost IQ scores. The author used both a meta-analysis and a longitudinal study. The issue arose from one study in their meta-analysis published in 1978 by Stephen Bruning. Bruning was later found guilty of repeated scientific misconduct. He fabricated data in multiple papers previously and after 1978, including this one, which was used in here by Angela Lee Duckworth and her colleagues. Once discovered, Angela and her colleagues reran their analysis without the Bruning study. New results were statistically weaker. The test showed heavy publication bias. The only part of the experiment that was valid was the longitudinal study. Even though that was the only portion of the research that was valid, the authors still decided to retract the entire paper to maintain scientific integrity and minimize institutional consequences. This is a good example of how past misconduct can unintentionally affect newer work and how retraction, while difficult, can be a reasonable choice. The ethical impact of misconduct. Stephen Bruning, the researcher behind the falsified 1978 study, had a known history of data fabrication. He was investigated by the National Institute of Mental Health back in the 1980s, leaving his reputation permanently damaged. The unfortunate part was with Angela Duckworth and her associates in the research group. They didn't commit any unethical decisions or fabricate any data in any sort of way. They unknowingly used Bruning's fake data, and it compromised their own study. This shows how a single fraudulent study can damage future researchers even decades later, and how peer review work isn't always safe from error. And these are my references. Thank you for watching and have a great day.